Brazil, the land of samba, sunshine and sensational football. A place that produced legends who turned football into an art.
Oh dear me.
Sensational.
It's the only nation to have won a record 5 World Cups and brought unparalleled flair to this sport. Yet, as glorious as their history is, today's Brazil is a shadow of its former self. They have failed to qualify for the Paris 2024 Olympics, and their current standing in the South American World Cup qualifiers is nothing short of embarrassment, as they currently are on the 6th spot. The aura, the flair that Brazilian football had seems to be fading, and the sense of urgency to win a title is obvious. Even a legend like Ronaldinho, in one of his marketing gimmicks, perfectly explained his disappointment about how the current national team lacks passion and leaders and has gone far away from its identity. Ronaldinho backed out from whatever he said above and termed it as a marketing gimmick, but even if it's not genuine, I could not agree more from whatever he said from that post. Brazil's footballing identity has always been synonymous to flair, creativity and dominance. It's the nation that brought us Joga Bonito, the beautiful game. Today, they are far away from it. Brazil's decline did not happen overnight. It has been a slow and painful process. The turning point for many was that 2014 World Cup, where Brazil suffered a humiliating 7-1 defeat to Germany on their home soil. And it was rightly said, it wasn't just a loss, it was a national tragedy. That painful defeat exposed the deep-rooted issues with Brazilian football to fans. Well, after this tragedy, the Brazilian football never quite recovered. There was a glimmer of hope when they won 2019's Copa America, but that also didn't solve the problems. The problems still persisted. The team's lack of coordination and consistency became evident again in 2022 World Cup in Qatar, where they were knocked out by Croatia in penalties in quarterfinals. See, one of the major issues that is affecting Brazilian football is the exodus of talent to Europe. For decades now, Brazilian players have been attracted by top European clubs. This trend started back in early 2000s when changes in European laws made it easier for non-European players to carry their transfer to Europe. And today, it's quite common for Brazilian players to leave their homeland at a very young age to chase those lucrative contracts from Europe. And the recent examples are like Estavo to Chelsea, Endrick to Real Madrid, Moscardo to PSG, and so on. While it's great for individual player to gain some exposure and experience, but sadly, such export of talents has had a large impact on domestic league and as well as on the Brazil's footballing identity. The talented players who are capable of deciding games in the Brazilian way are not given enough time which is necessary to fully develop their skills in their own country. And obviously now to these young players, after moving to Europe, it's quite normal for them to adapt to the European style of football. What I mean is, the game has different dynamics overseas. The philosophy, the tactics, the identity, everything changes. Footballers in Brazil have different rhythm and speed than those in Europe. And then these two identities clash within the national team in major international tournaments, which do sometimes bring in balance. Because from what we know about Brazilian style is basically about giving them that freedom to express themselves. But currently in world, football has become more positional centric, which often takes some of the creativity from the players. And that's why to watch players like Lamine Yamal is refreshing, because they always are looking to create something out of nothing. And such skills are quite difficult to be coached in a club. Obviously a good coach would help you to make them sharper, but it's like you either learn from your roots or you just don't have it. And the roots for that style are in the street, especially in the street of Brazil, where you will find the real superstars. Street football was a crucial part of the journey for countless young talents, but now those same streets ain't the same anymore. According to Nascimento, a part-time footballer, described the current state, the district of Vila Aurora in Sao Paulo, which once used to be a hub of street football, is now all covered in concrete jungle. There are quite a few open spaces left, which is forcing people to rent a place or turf. Nascimento also stated that he and his friends are paying around $160 a month to rent a scrap of land for their games. And such amount are significant barriers for many families. And this all factors has resulted in a decline of street football, which was breeding ground for the skills, flair and creativity that once defined Selecao. See, every coin has two sides, and leaving Brazil can also be a good decision for players, but only after a certain age, like say 19 or 20, where they get enough time to develop their skill set before moving to Europe. And the best example for such case is Neymar. After impressing the world at Santos, at the age of 23, he moved to Barcelona, and as they say, rest is history. And not only at the club level, whenever you used to watch him play with Brazil, you always used to get those samba vibes. And I think He was the main reason why Brazil's crack were left unexposed for a long time. He carried Brazil's team for over 10 years. But since his participation in national team is getting rare and lesser, the loss of flair and identity is quite clear. But anyway, despite this recent struggle, I think there is a glimmer of hope for the future. Brazil's youth system continues to produce exceptional talents like Henrique, Estavo, Vitor Roque, who are already making headlines through their skills and talent, and this could be the key to Brazil's resurgence. And they already have players like Vinicius and Rodrigo, who at such young age has already proved their worth at the club level. But with national team, they hadn't had the same success. And that's why for the players like them, who are currently playing in top leagues in Europe, Copa America 2024 is a challenge. Another reason why this Copa America is so important for them is their fierce rivals Argentina, who are currently in their golden era. Both South American teams have struggled to make an impact in last 20 years or so in world football. Currently, Argentina is the one, to be honest, that has brought South American football at the very top. And that is by winning the World Cup against one of the best teams in Europe and also winning Finalisma against Italy. And Brazil, even after having talents like Neymar, they weren't able to achieve such sort of thing is a real shame. But that's why to keep up with Argentina, this Copa America is the best platform for Brazil. And by winning against defending and the world champion Argentina would help them to restore the faith of the fans that seems to be lost. Talking about fans, their expectations has to be realistic because the current Brazil's team cannot play and dominate the games as the past Brazilian teams used to do.
The current team is pretty young. They may or may not be at the same level, but there is no shortage of talent. Vinicius' game against Paraguay, where he showed flashes that Brazil has the potential. On paper, the squad looks pretty balanced, although consistency would be key. Because I think Copa American teams are very tough and very underrated. If it's not your day, they can kill you in seconds. And this young group of Brazil could unfortunately might find themselves on the wrong side as well. And right now, this Brazil team is at that stage where they can't afford mistakes. This is a sublime opportunity for Brazilian team to show the world that they can still compete. And once you start winning, you'll ultimately gain that reputation which past Brazilian teams did.
But still, just claiming title with this young squad would be a one great step ahead in this transitional phase.